Hello. So I feel really bad about the background music being too loud on these two stories. So I am re-uploading these two stories just by themselves. Please listen to them and subscribe to these people's channels and check out the authors who wrote the stories because they deserve so much credit. Thank you.
It didn't start out bad. I used to not mind living at the edge of a thick forest. Then it started. It wasn't too bad at first. It all started out as waking up in the middle of the night and hearing a few twigs snap out of place or leaves rustling before falling back asleep. I lived with my parents in a rural neighborhood where the closest neighbors were a mile away. My bed is across my room, pressed up against the wall. When my head was turned to the side, I could see out my window. I could see the forest line in my backyard from the window. I woke up one morning to a handprint on my window. Seeing this meant that someone was in my backyard, looking into my room. Then I realized something else very disturbing about the handprint. The fingers of the handprint were too long and thin. I got up and went to my parents' room. They didn't listen to me. They never listened to me. One night passed. Nothing happened, but I still felt uneasy. I didn't wake up that night, but I'm sure something had happened because the bird feeder my parents had hung up was on the ground. I told my parents this, but they dismissed it as the squirrels doing it. The next night, I woke up to a strange, eerie feeling. My eyes looked up at the window and I almost screamed. A tall, lanky figure was roaming around the forest line. It was completely shrouded in darkness and hunched over. Its fingers, legs, and neck were far too long. Its movements were so unnatural and slow. Suddenly it completely straightened up and snapped its head to look at me. I buried my head in my pillow. Then I must have passed out from fear. For the next few nights it would get closer to my window. It wandered around aimlessly, occasionally glancing at me with a sinister look. Tonight I looked up to the window. It's right there. Black leathery skin looks like it's being pulled against its body. I can see its ribs and spine segments through its skin. I gasped and pulled my blanket over my head. My breathing quickens, then I hear it. Right against my window. Then I make a mistake. I look up to the window. It's standing there, staring at me. Its white eyes reflecting in the dark, showing its tiny pupils. This time it's louder and more aggressive. Its long, bony fingers placed lightly against the glass. It opens its mouth. Oh God. It has at least 100 long, thin, razor-sharp teeth. It lets out an ear-piercing screech. Its neck twitched then. I'm in shock. It slams its head against my window. Then it happens again. Its neck contorted again before slamming its head against my window, still screeching. I start to panic. It gets faster. The glass of the window is cracking. I start crying. I'm not sure how I didn't start crying sooner. The glass shatters. I scream. I woke up in a hospital bed. There's a searing pain in my arm. I look at it. My left arm is wrapped tight in bloody bandages. My right arm has an IV drip. I'm in a hospital gown. My parents then walk into the room. I see my mom is crying. My mom rushes over and hugs me. She's just repeating, "I'm sorry," over and over again, crying into my shoulder. I hug her back before my dad pulls her off me. My parents explained that they heard me scream and found me passed out, bleeding out from my arm and the side of my stomach, and the window broken. They called the police. The police just called it a home break-in and left it at that. But I know what I saw. That was 6 years ago, and I still can't stand the sight of the forest at night. I need curtains to fall asleep. I live in a city apartment building on the 3rd floor now. My parents don't believe me when I tell them what happened, even though I'm still in therapy for it to this day. They said it was probably just sleep paralysis, but I've never had sleep paralysis before or since, and I could move my body just fine the entire time.
I am always with you. I was there from the time you were born. I stood in the delivery room, staring down at you before you could even open your eyes to see me. Your family and doctors couldn't see me there in the corner, watching you with cloudy eyes. But I was there from the time you were born, and I followed you home. I was with you always, your constant companion. You played with your toys alone while I stared from all angles in nearby mirrors. my matted, clotted hair with oily sweat that hung off my dented forehead like glue. I accompanied you all the time, drifting behind your mother's car on your ride to preschool. You thought you were alone in the bathroom, but I was on the other side of the door, wind whistling through the bruised hole in my throat, my arms twisted and hanging in their sockets as I stood hunched over on the other side of the shower curtain. I wait and follow you. I follow and drift behind you. I'm not seen. I'm almost non-existent in light. You never saw me that morning as I sat across from you at the breakfast table, a shiny red clot hanging from an empty tooth socket as I gaped grotesquely at you. I wonder sometimes if you know I'm here. I think you are aware, but you'll never understand just how close I am. I spend hours of your day doing nothing more than breathing, gagging really, in your ear. I crave to be close to you, to always wrap my crippled arms around your neck. I lie near you every single night, cloudy eyes staring at your ceiling, underneath your bed, at your sleeping face in the dark. Yes, you caught me staring occasionally. Your parents came running down to your room one night when you screamed. You were just beginning to talk, so you were only able to cry out, "Man, man in my room." You thought you'd never forget the sight of me, with my collapsed jaw hanging to my chest, swinging back and forth. I sank back into your closet, and your mother was unable to see me though you pointed, and pointed. You thought you'd never forget when they left that same night. You saw the closet door crack so softly, and me crawling across the floor to your bed on all fours, shambling and jerking movements as I pushed myself under your bed on disjointed limbs. You learned a new word for me. Boogeyman. Not quite the monster you thought I was. I'm just waiting and following you always, stroking your face with my knotted fingers as you sleep. You'll see me again soon. Any day now I'm coming, blunt and brutal. One day, you'll walk across the road, and I believe I'll plow into you with a loud roar and a screech. You'll roll on the pavement, roll under wheels, blunt force metal fenders, and my fingers touching your face again and again. You'll stare up from the cold pavement with cloudy eyes. Your matted, clotted hair hangs in your face, and your jaw is unhinged and swaying against your chest. You'll notice me approaching. No one else will see me. You will stare past them into my eyes, and I'll leer down at you. For the first time in our life, something like a smile will come over our face. You'll swear you're looking into a mirror as clotted bits of scarlet bubble from our mouths. I'll lean down past the doctors and the ogling people and pick you up in my crooked arms. Our faces will touch. My wings will unfurl, and then you'll have to follow me. And I am always with you, for I am your guardian angel.
I would really love to thank all of you for listening to these stories, because these two narrators deserve so much credit. Don't forget to subscribe to their channels, and don't forget to check out the authors who wrote the stories. They deserve the credit too, because if it wasn't for the authors, the stories wouldn't even be here, would they?